Breaking tonight, a Kelly File exclusive on the gripping new film that may pose a threat to Hillary Clinton's hopes for the White House. Welcome to the Kelly File, everyone. I'm Megyn Kelly. Many insisted after her most recent testimony on Benghazi that this issue was over. Her defenders pronounced it is officially time to move on. That the terrorist attack that took place in Libya on September 11th, 2012, which the administration argued was about an internet video offensive to Muslims, was neither Mrs. Clinton's fault nor misrepresented by her. But the issue of the families of the 4 Americans killed in Benghazi still looms large. At least 3 of the families are on record as saying that as their loved ones' bodies sat at Dover Air Force Base days after the attack, Mrs. Clinton personally approached them and blamed the murders on this internet video, even though we now know that just 2 days earlier, she had told the Egyptian prime minister that the video had nothing to do with it. Days ago, at a stop in New Hampshire, Mrs. Clinton was pressed on why her story diverges wildly from that being told by these family members. Quote, "Somebody is lying," said a columnist from New Hampshire's Conway Daily Sun. "Who is it?" Mrs. Clinton responded, "Not me. That's all I can tell you." Not, "No one is lying." Not, "Let's not impugn anyone's motives here." Not, "I reject the premise of your question." Not me. That was the answer she chose to give. But a major motion picture about to be released by Paramount Pictures, 13 Hours, The Secret Soldiers of Benghazi, makes it very clear that Benghazi was a pre-planned terrorist attack. The film is introduced as a true story and reintroduces Benghazi as a potential campaign issue that cannot be helpful to Mrs. Clinton. The film is told through the eyes of the men who were there, 3 of whom are with us tonight, the real-life heroes on the ground in Benghazi on September 11th, 2012. They helped director Michael Bay craft a gripping film that captures the fierce fight to protect dozens of Americans and the desperate calls for help that went unanswered by President Obama's administration, including Hillary Clinton's State Department. We'll speak with them in a moment, but first, a new look at the story about to hit the big screens.
Benghazi is under attack. We need immediate assistance. State's under attack. Let's go, man.
You have a U.S. ambassador at risk. You gotta send us.
You're not the first responders. You will wait.
Go! We gotta go!
We have no jurisdiction in this country. We're not even supposed to be here.
Losing the initiative.
Stand down! If you do not get here soon, we are all gonna fucking die.
None of you have to go. But we are the only help they have.
We're coming in, we're on property. Is Chris inside? Is he still inside? I'm on the roof, don't leave me. We're under heavy fire. Chief, are we expecting any friendlies?
I am not aware of any friendlies.
Let them come. Let them come.
Hate on these guys.
What you do right now will determine whether we live or die.
As long as I'm doing the right thing, God will take care of me.
If you don't send our support, the Americans are going to die, including the one talking to you right now.
You're not giving orders anymore. You're in my world now.
I haven't thought about my family once tonight. Thinking about them now. Up here in the middle of all this.
Shoot that son of a bitch!
Thinking about my girls, man.
Joining me now, three of the heroes who saved dozens of Americans that night and who wrote the book on which that film is based. Mark Geist, known as Oz, Chris Peranto, who goes by Tonto, and John Tigan, also known as Tig. Thank you all so much for being here.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
I know two of you have seen the film. You have not.
Nope.
Tonto, let me start with you.
Sure.
How true to life is the film?
Example of when I walked out of the theater after I saw it, I felt just drained. Like there was a big hole inside me. And it was because I really virtually went back to Benghazi when I was watching it. And I missed it so much that it was a part of me that I relived on the screen. I realized how much I've been missing over these last 2 years.
You missed it?
I do. I miss.
What do you mean? The film depicts absolute hell.
It's not. It's amazing being with your brothers and fighting in them. Geez, I don't know. It's weird. Being there and being with them and having the faith that you're going to defeat all the obstacles. And I relive it. You know, usually don't get like this. So no, it brought home a lot of the truths that we went through, and a lot of the like I said, the brotherhood is the best way I can explain it. So yeah, I miss it immensely. I sacrificed a lot to get to this point, and one of it's the job that I really loved. And yeah, I'd go back there in a heartbeat.
The movie and the book takes the viewer and the reader through the story of Benghazi, so our viewers are up to speed. It starts off at the diplomatic outpost, the so-called consulate where Ambassador Chris Stevens was, and the attack on that compound that was not caused by a video. Where RPGs and mortars and so on are set off, and Ambassador Chris Stevens dies due to smoke inhalation, along with Sean Smith.
Yep, Sean.
These guys, in the meantime, are off at the CIA annex, another post that's less than a mile away, chomping at the bit, saying, "Send us, send us." You can hear the distress calls. You can hear the radio calls of the State Department personnel saying, "We're going to die, we're going to die, we're going to die."
Yeah.
The CIA station chief, where you were at the time, told you repeatedly, according to the movie, stand down. We saw that in the trailer. Use the words, stand down. Is that how you remember it?
Yeah, I mean, it was him. It was the chief of base, the deputy chief, and our team leader. They were sitting on the front porch, and when he told me to stand down.
It was Tig said, "Hey, we're losing the initiative," and we were.
Why is it wrong? Why? The position is you're here to protect the annex. They have some security personnel over at the consulate, which our viewers should know. Congressional investigators have already found was woefully inadequate, and that we were totally unprepared. That state had totally left those guys unprepared to defend themselves. But in the moment, that station chief at the annex was saying to you, "Stand down. You're here to protect us, this facility, not that one."
Well, I really don't think it was just for us to protect that facility. It's just that's just how he was. There was multiple security situations when we should have left, and he never let us go. But
why?
He was just risk adverse, in my opinion. His last station, he wanted his legacy to be what it was. He didn't want to lose anybody, I guess.
You got trained Army Rangers, you got Navy SEALs, you got Marines, the best in the world, standing there ready to go, armed to the teeth, trained for exactly this, saying they're going to be dead. We're going.
Yeah.
How many times did he tell you to stand down?
Well, he told Tonto to wait twice, and he told me to stand down, which even a wait technically is pretty much a stand down too. But
yeah,
it's just I don't know why you would rely on a militia that's not even military trained. They're barely even trained.
Because he's telling you guys the Libyans are going to protect Ambassador Stevens.
Brigade,
the Libyans have it. The Libyans, who had already run from the front of the diplomatic facility, were going to handle it, which of course they did not. But ultimately the movie depicts you guys saying, "We're going." And Tyrone Wood specifically saying, and that's quoted in the movie, saying to all of you, it's up to you, but we're the only help they have. Did that really happen?
And that did happen. And the radio call from Alec Henderson coming across saying, "Hey, if you guys don't all get here, we're all gonna bleep and die." That's word for word. That's what actually spurned us.
You all have testified to this, and the trailer that we just watched, it captures it too, with the writing on the screen. There was no support. And having seen the film this morning, if there's one theme that emerges, that is it, that they were left alone. There was no one to back you up. Throughout the film, you see heroes of assuming, understanding based on their experience that the American military will be there to back them up and support them. And help never came.
I mean, for us, for the military to come and support us, the agency, we wouldn't expected it. But the fact that they had a U.S. ambassador who'd been missing probably for about 5 hours before they actually officially, he was considered dead, and they didn't send anything or attempt to push anything that way is pretty crazy. I mean, I would never expect him just to leave the ambassador out there to hang out.
And what about all the CIA agents who were in the annex?
Again, my view is they didn't even try, and that's where the problem. And that's where the film does a great job of showing that even though the head shed or the headquarters elements with the Department of Defense were getting assets and moving them, that it eventually just stopped for some reason. We still don't know why.
What did you expect would come? What did you think would show up? Who or what?
The biggest thing I think we really needed was mainly air support. I mean, any kind of...
Just something to fly over.
How hard would that have been?
Not hard. There's again, people that see the movie and read the book know that it wouldn't have been difficult.
And all we sent was an unmanned drone.
And it wasn't helpful at all either.
But I want to go back because one of the things that gets lost, I think, in the coverage of Benghazi too is the loss of our ambassador, who was portrayed in the film as a good man.
Very good.
Who was just trying to do the right thing, who had begged for security increases there and was denied those security increases. And they had in fact been diminished repeatedly leading up to September 11th. And that's another thing that the investigators have found, which was he had no business being in Benghazi on 9/11. The administration should not have allowed it. And if they were going to send him, they should have sent him with proper security. But he was killed that night. And you went to the consulate, the very facility which he was killed. You kept running in to try to get him, right?
Multiple times.
And the smoke was too much. Describe that moment where you knew he was in there. You didn't yet know whether he was dead.
You know, you couldn't really, I mean, I was on my belly for the last time I went in before we got counter-assaulted on the consulate, and their smoke was still down there, and you could still only see about maybe 2 feet in front of your face, and, you know, it was just so thick and so hot, it's just like being in a brick oven. I mean, you're just sweating constantly, and it was extreme heat and just coughing, and because you can't really hold your breath because, one, your adrenaline's pumping, and, you know, you've been running around for the last hour, you know, fighting your way on and then searching, and so, I mean, it was pretty intense.
Do you believe that if you had been allowed to go when you first said, send us, and the radio calls came in from the consulate saying, help us, help us, help us, do you believe there would have been any chance to say?
Oh, yeah.
They'd be alive
today, 100%.
The congressional investigators concluded there was no stand down order.
I don't know where they got that.
Well, it's because they couldn't read his lips from the drone that they had.
That's just silly. I mean, there was for us.
I mean, Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama and others rely on those conclusions, saying, you know, they've really been cleared because investigators concluded there was no stand down order.
It's kind of funny. Everything that we testified to, you know, they agreed with us 100%. I mean, from pretty much from us eating a candy bar to, you know, shooting all of our ammo, but for some reason they don't want to believe us that we were told to stand down.
Do you have a political motive? Do you have?
No.
The one who should have got the star was sitting right there because he saved Tyrone's life by going in the building and finding him when he was lost. And then he's the first one that come up on the roof and put 2 tourniquets on Dave Ubben and got a tourniquet on my arm. And probably saved both of our lives.
And had to see him naked once. That's an honor right there.
They joke, but when this audience sees this film and sees what you all went through, and you, Oz, what happened to your arm, which was basically hanging off. I mean, it was
from about right here down.
It was hanging by a thread.
That was pretty impressive seeing him trying to get it. I remember seeing him trying to get his gun up, and that arm's hanging, and he's still trying to shoot. I ain't gonna say it much because I don't need to give a Marine any more kudos than what they already get. But I'll be honest, I was pretty impressed seeing that after the mortars hit and seeing him still in the fight.
And when he went down to get help, it wasn't for himself. It was for the gentleman you just referenced, who had also been hit. And so Oz walks in down below to where the CIA agents are to say, there's another guy. His arm is dangling. And he says, there's somebody who's hurt and needs help. And you refused to go onto that airplane that ultimately got you guys out of there on a gurney.
Yeah.
Why? Tell them what you said and why you said it.
I walked into that country, I'm going to walk out. I mean, it's just, again, it's who I am. I'm not going to, I mean, I don't know. It's just, I just felt compelled to, I'm not going to let that, I'm not going to lose.
To the end, it wasn't the United States that was there for you.
And that's kudos to Glenn Doherty and his team in Tripoli getting that aircraft to us from Tripoli.
Last subject. You come back. The video. It was all about a video. And we've heard the family say that, and that's how we kicked off the segment. That Hillary Clinton, according to the family members, looked at them at Dover Air Force Base when the bodies came back in the caskets and said, we're going to get the guy who made that video. And now when asked who's lying, you or the families, she says, well, it's not me. And of course, she's talking about Glenn's family. She's talking about Tyrone's family. She's talking about Sean's family.
And I know Pat Smith. I know Katie Quigley, Glenn's sister. I know, we know Ty's mom. We know what they told us was said, and I do know them very well. And Katie's been on the news quite a bit, telling you what she was told, and I know that they were told it was video because that's what they told me. Well, and I believe Pat. I believe Katie. I believe Charles
it's easy.
Woods.
I mean, who would have a reason to lie?
Why? Their loved ones just died.
Simple.
Exactly.
They have no reason to tell anything but the truth.
When you saw the testimony of Hillary Clinton, she testified twice, and the first time she made big headlines when, well, we have the clip. This is what she said.
The fact is, we had 4 dead Americans. Was it because of a protest, or was it because of guys out for a walk one night who decided they'd go kill some Americans? What difference at this point does it make?
What's your response to her?
It makes a huge difference, and this is what Oz is talking about with the politics of it, the politicking of, and just getting it down into where it turns into a reality show, keeping the Kardashian type show where the truth is not being told. That's one of the reasons why it pushed us to go ahead and stay apolitical, but tell the truth of what happened on the ground, because it does matter. It matters to honor our friends that passed away. It matters because we need to honor Ambassador Stevens and Sean Smith, and to honor the families that need to know the truth of what took place there that night, because they didn't know.
Incredible. You will not leave your seat for 2+ hours when you see that. Don't make plans to go get something to eat, because you will be sitting there white-knuckled for 2 hours. It was riveting, and it comes out on January 15th.